This video has been inspired by a latest purchase, like many of them are, and that is this book, Formula One Car by Car. And this is the sixth book in this series. They started with, Formula One, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and now we've got 2000s, particularly 2000 to 2009. And what I was inspired by going through it, I kind of started picking out going, oh, I have a slot car of this one, I have a slot car of that one. And I thought, well, let's go through. I really wanted to specify for myself, looking at, they represent every car of each season and the driver combination, and they cover everything. So I thought, okay, I know I have slot cars for a number of these years, but which driver and exactly which edition? Because during the 2000s, and even now, from year to year, sometimes really tell the difference because the advertisements and the graphic design on the cars, maybe some very subtle changes. And yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell which year it's from. So I did my research and got that all sorted out. So here, I'm going to go through the book here best I can. And I've tagged everything so I don't miss. And again, it was challenging because, again, some of these cars look very much like, the next 3 or 4 years. So it's really looking at subtleties. And sometimes I found that going by the claim on the car itself or the box didn't really add up or make sense to the real thing. So I had to sort through those to get this worked out. So the first car we have doesn't come about till 2001. And this is Scalextric. And it is the Mika Hakkinen McLaren from that year. An excellent model, really well done. I was really impressed when Scalextric was coming out with Formula One cars during this period because they did a fantastic job. They look great. Little things that I really liked is that they use some metal pieces at the, I don't know if I get focus here, around the intake. They have these little metal pieces that really represent the real thing. And also the rear view mirrors are white metal. So yeah, takes a lot to break those off. I haven't managed to break one off yet. Really well done. The lack of helmet paint, just a bit of a disappointment, but they're very good runners for the most part. The other thing what I quite liked about these cars is that when you take the screws out, and I think it's these ones, I'll have to take a closer look, that the back engine cover comes off so you can access the gears and the electric motor inside without taking all the bodywork off. So very realistic to the real thing. So that was very cool about these. I'll put this one aside. Let's take a look what we've got next. Oh, right off the bat, we have Scalextric in doing the Williams. And again, no paint on the helmet, so don't know what driver it's representing. But excellently done. Again, these are very hard plastic, so they can crack or break. And what was vulnerable, and I had some issue with the front end of some of these, I'm breaking these front wings off. Now, another feature they had on this car is that the front nose of the car snapped in just at the axle of the front wheels. And the idea here was if it had an accident, that whole front end would pop off and not cause damage. Well, I've never had anyone ever pop off, and I have damaged a number of wings. I think I got a whole new replacement on this one because it was hopelessly destroyed and had to fix that up. But again, same deal where the metal pieces on the rear view mirrors were really nice. Trying to look closer. Oh, there we go. And on this one, it had rain tires, which is unusual. So it's got that added pattern to the tires compared to the others. And again, if I go back to the McLaren, during the 2000s, well, at least the first few years, they had groove tires at the front. And that was to put less rubber on the road, meaning that you had less grip. And that was to make them a little more difficult to drive. And let's see, we'll keep going here. And the next one, I think, is in past the 2001 year. Even though a lot of the cars are very similar, the actual model has a specific time when they were available. Yeah, we're going through quite a bit of 2000s. Maybe we don't have one in 2000. There we go. The Toyota. And in this case, it's the TF102. And we have a really nice representation of this car. And much like the other two, very impressive details. The great thing about Scalextric is that proportions, everything were bang on. Like, these are scale models. They're very, very accurate in the size, that it really is a 1/32 scale car, which is excellent. Let's see if you can see this picture down here. When you look at these, yeah, it's exceptionally well done. The other thing I quite like about these, and it's a little thing, but means a lot to me, or at least I really appreciate, is if you look at the intake, it is hollow. It actually is open. And I'm more amazed over the last few years that they don't have, a lot of them don't even have an indent where the air intake is, which I find disappointing. But here the detail was spectacular. Really, really nice. Even this one, around that intake, there are some little etched metal pieces here. Not sure if you can see it. There we go. Painted white, whereas the other one was metal, so it was obvious. So it's got this great little detail on here. And the paint jobs are fantastic. They're actually tampo printing. So yeah, there's really perfect, and some perfect colors to them. Now the next one, this one here, which is the Aeros A23. And this one was made by Ninco. They did a number of Formula One cars, which are all fantastic. This is near the end of their run of doing Formula One cars from any era. So this one, really nice. What's quite different with this, working steering. Not that I found the working steering helped in any way on these cars, but yeah, kind of a neat feature when they're going around. If you got a sharp turn, you can actually see those wheels turn in. Now, there is a bit of paint on the helmet, so that's nice. It kind of represents what driver, and in this case, it's Heinz Harald Frentzen, who is racing this car at the time. So it's not totally detailed, but it's got enough design, color, graphic on there, so it's identifiable. And again, there is an opening in that airbox, which is nice, but it's all plastic. This has the plastic rear view mirrors. I've got some earlier Ninco Formula One cars, and yeah, the mirrors have snapped off. So, which you don't have, and I've never had that issue with this era of Scalextric. And then Ninco, again, it was always a bit of a mystery of what motors they got on. Here's an NC2. And they go relatively fast. Yeah, these are good runners. Same with the Scalextrics. They all run quite comfortable speed-wise with each other. Now, keep going past 2000 into 2003. And I haven't read through this book to get all of the story on these, but I do recall. And again, I do have all the annuals from these years, automobile year, auto course. Yeah, so I've got a lot of background information on these, as well as watching them all at the time. So here is Scalextric. Much like the previous ones we saw, have a lot of the same features. Uh, Again, it doesn't have cigarette sponsors, which you can see. Mild 7, not familiar with that cigarette brand, obviously European. And yeah, they don't have it on here. You could find decals to put the cigarette sponsorships on, but I haven't found this Mild 7 anywhere. But that'd be something I'd like to do at some point. Again, I think they've gone back to plastic on the rear view mirrors. There's just enough paint on here that you can see that it's representing Fernando Alonso, who had a couple of successful years with Renault. And again, nice air box with the intake there. Starting to sprout some really interesting little winglets and things on these cars. And these extended pieces of bodywork around the rear tires. And there are those groove tires again, which were the thing at the time. Anyways, nicely done. Now, if we continue, there we go. This is always a favorite of mine, the Jaguar Formula One team. Short-lived and not very successful, unfortunately. There's cars here. And now this one was produced by SCX, a offshoot of Scalextric, but this is the Spanish version. And these are quite nice cars. Again, working steering, kind of just like the Ninco. The front end, yeah, very fragile. These front wings, I've smashed this one off numerous times. I've actually got a little block of wood in there to help support it, which I should have painted up black or something. It's just the wood color there. So, but you could see where the wing attached to the body of these two pieces, which you'd think in an accident it would slide out of this thing here, but no, just snapped off at the connection with the body, so that wasn't very good. Nice rear view mirrors, again, getting into lots of winglets. Got that nice intake here. And again, the tampo printing is fantastic, excellently done. Great detail. They kind of use some of the basic shapes though. I mean, all the suspension and the steering mechanism is identical to all their Formula cars. So that wasn't really accurate from car to car, which the Scalextrics did. Yeah, if there was any uniqueness to the suspension, they molded that in the model. Now, the one thing about the SCX, and a number of SCX around this time, and I got ones previous to 2000, is a little out of scale. Because if we look at this, the width in these cars, the SCX, this particular Jaguar, is much wider, especially the wheel track here, is much wider than the more accurate Scalextric cars. But what's really nice here is the good paint on the helmet so you can identify the driver. And in this case, that would have been Mark Webber. So there we go. And if you can see this one down here, let me get that. See if I can bring that closer to the camera. It's a heavy book. There we go. It is really well represented and proportioned to the real car. So really appreciate that. And that's why I do collect the books and such, because yeah, I want to see, as an enthusiast, particularly of Formula One, I want to see slot car, die-cast, everything to be as accurate as possible. And the only way to really judge that is these fantastic picture books and history books of the subject matter. So here we are, 2004. We have Michael Schumacher Ferrari. And the one I've got here is Scalextric. And it is fantastic in detail. It's got everything that I mentioned before. Opening here, all sorts of winglets and things, which are very nice. All kind of standard. You'll see trends, like there's a lot of aerodynamics and such that is very similar to the Renault that we just looked at. So they get those subtleties, whatever subtle little changes are, they seem to pick up on those. We've got the exhaust coming out here. Now, This one here has the Marlboro cigarette sponsor. I added those. I found a sticker sheet that I could bring this up to spec to when this car ran with the Marlboro. And on top of that, the color was right of the helmet for Michael Schumacher. Always had a red helmet, but I did find on a decal sheet that I could put that cigarette sponsor where it's supposed to be on that driver. There we go. So fragile again. I've managed, I don't think I've broken anything off this one. I used to really run this one hard and ran this in a club on a wood track, and it held its own pretty good. It was a really good runner. Okay. So we'll keep looking here. So what's nice is that a lot of different manufacturers did Formula One from this era. And not that I collected all of them that came out. And some of them, same body, different repaints. And you'll see that coming up in one case anyways. If it was a repaint, I usually got the original body mold that was accurate and not just bought every paint variation. Again, all the cost of all that adds up pretty quickly. Let's see what we got here. There we go. This is, oh, this in, I don't think this one's accurate. Sorry, I got a tag. Oh, maybe this isn't the tag. Here's the tag. This is right. Here we got a very intricate car. This is a non-specific, but this is Lucky Strike cigarette sponsorship on this car, but it's gone to just graphic because of the ban on cigarette sponsorship for some races at this time. But yeah, just how intricate all the aerodynamics were on these cars. Really well done. And again, the paint, the tampo printing, spectacular. And even the helmet, unusual for Scale Electric, but if I can focus on this. This helmet design is that of Jason Button. So you can see the JB nicely tempoed on the helmet, like very unusual for just about any of the slot car manufacturers to go that detailed on the helmet, especially on this era of cars. But very, very nice. Look at this really cool scoop at the bottom wing there in the center. Very cool. And well designed and executed. Yeah, good solid car. And these are all very fast cars. Of course, I replaced all the wheels from the rubber to the urethanes that we run on my track here, the old Strombecker stuff. It still worked with all this. Guide depth worked because the Strombecker track actually has a deeper groove for the slot than the Scale Electric. So always was pretty easy making sure that these all fit. Now here's a super detailed car. Now we're getting crazy with aerodynamics. And this is an SEX of, again, Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. A couple years later than the other one I just showed. But again, yeah, the paint job was excellent. I did put a decal on the helmet just to give it that Marlboro sponsorship. And again, on this one, I found the decals and did all the Marlboro decaling on here. But excellent car. Look at all the aerodynamics, all these side barges with all these different additions to it. Just crazy. And even the front, the different elements to the front wing. Just amazing. Very delicate. Not this one, but I got one that I'm coming up to that I've broken many times, but always managed to put together. And now the real risky part on this car is these rear view mirrors. Look at the way they stick right out. And yep, broken these off many, many times. Had to glue them back in many, many times. And not so much from an accident, but just going to pick up the car to put it back on the track. Yeah, if you grab it at the wrong spot, those mirrors are coming off. But at least I've always found them and got them back on. And again, it's all got some great detail, all little fins and things. Now, here's a nice thing. This is when they started in the next few cars from SEX, is they used rubberized plastic for these winglets and things. Unfortunately, they didn't on these mirrors because they snapped right off, but all these other wings, they're rubberized, so they move around. I haven't had any of those snap or break off at any time. But great car. Now, the next three after this one are all SCX from about the same period. And super detailed cars. Again, the tempo printing, everything is faultless. But they're not the fastest car. And they're not the greatest handling cars either, even at these slower speeds. But again, they've just done such a great job modeling. I had to have them, and they're pretty hard to come by too. At least here in North America, particularly Canada, where I am, very hard time finding those cars. You can see number of years or pages here not represented. Here we are in 2007, and here we go. We've got this BMW Sauber, and do I have that one? Yeah, that's this one. Yeah, it's in order. And again, the detail. And again, what it is, it's the aerodynamic devices are just so detailed. It's unbelievable. Again, working steering, much narrower car than many of them, but all these winglets, and look at this, what they called like Viking horns on by the airbox, and all these very detailed barge boards here with all these extra elements and things to it. And again, the helmet is painted up enough so you know which driver it is. And in this case, it's Robert Kubica, who really made a name for himself in this car, doing extremely well against the much bigger finance teams. Look at the elements on the front wing here. Just amazing. The detail and all the paintwork. Excellently done. Again, working steering, and if anything, it's a hindrance to performance, I've always found. And it has that big open can SCX motor, which I think they still use. And they're not the best runners. They're not very good, smooth running high-end motors. They're kind of notchy and not the best power to them. But again, running like against like is all good and a lot of fun. But again, it's just the detail on these cars is spectacular. And let's take a look. And here we go with the next one. See, they did a run of these same cars from the same year, which is amazing. And what's really amazing about these cars is that they produced them just the 1 year. They didn't do other years and changed any molding and whatever. They just did the ones they did. So they're one-off. They went to all this trouble and all this detail and everything. And that was it. They'd have one version, maybe two if they changed the number for the other driver. Now, this one here, I'm trying to figure which driver they're representing here. Heikki Kovalainen. I got that totally wrong, but anyways, I can't pronounce that name. It's too foreign for me. Anyway, working steering. Look at all these additional pieces here. They got outboard wings on these other aerodynamic barge boards. And again, here's these pieces back here, which are very flexible. The exhaust coming out of the bodywork here. Just amazing. Just amazing. I still find these are some of my favorite slot cars from a model point of view. They even got the what we call a weather vane here for air intake. The use I can't remember offhand. But here's the thing. Yeah, look at this front wing and the double element, especially that very fine one up top that fits into the nose. Yeah, I think I've knocked that loose a few times and had to do a little gluing. But at least everything else is flexible and whatnot, so that even with all these appendages, if the car comes off and you got to pick it up, you're not breaking anything off. So that's fantastic. Beautiful car, beautiful car. And now next we have the very next one that we have here, which is the Williams. FW29 and powered by Toyota. And again, another superb car. Now, they did do a repaint on this one. I can't remember if it was before this or after this, but it was the exact same car, same molding. They didn't change anything. And it probably would have been subtle anyways, but again, I got the one I could find, or the more accurate body-wise and paint job, especially for the year. And knowing that these were from the same year, which is, what is the year here? Yeah, 2007. I wanted to make sure I had the more authentic. And yeah, we got the little antenna on here, which is great. Little weather vane. Yeah, some nice little aerodynamic pieces on that front wing. The upper portion has that extra element. I think I've knocked one of those off, but as long as I can find it, I can glue it back on, so no problem. So again, excellently done. And again, a lot of similarities from team to team, because once somebody comes up with an idea that looks like it's working, they all steal it with some variation. So this is no exception. Very similar to the first 2, 3 that I've shown of these bunch with all this aerodynamic. Then they start to ban that because the elements were coming loose, falling off, and creating some dangerous situations. Now, here's a very unique car. This one here, this is Jensen, well, this one's showing Jensen Button, but I have the variation, which is Rubens Barrichello. And what's amazing about this car, there is no sponsorship on the car. The whole car is painted like the planet Earth from space. And it has, yeah, no, it has the H for Honda identification, but other than that, zero sponsorship. But you can see a lot of the aerodynamic things is pretty cleaned up. There is a little bit, which is hard to see in black, but it works quite well. And actually, this is the exact same car as, and let's see if I can find it. Why can't I see it? Okay. Oh, here it is. If I put these two together, these are the exact same mold, exact same detailing, same everything. You can see the detail of all this stuff better than when I showed it before. Again, temple printing is amazing, but this was just a repaint. So this is a couple years after this one, and still the body shape was close enough they felt to get away with a repaint on that one. 2 different drivers, the Jensen Button one, which the helmet is spectacular, and then the Rubens Barrichello, which is quite accurate too. The colors and the graphic on that helmet is quite nicely done. And the detail of the earth is quite amazing too. And that's a remarkable temple printing job. That right from the tip of the nose to back of the airbox is all the relief paint of you know, the oceans and landscapes and things of Earth. Now in the cockpit, very nicely done. Full driver on the Scalextric ones, as opposed to a tray, which you'd get on the SCX and such. Now even those are full drivers. So I always appreciate that because of the motor position, it was, the cockpit's wide open right down to the floor, so they got a full driver and detailed cockpit with the steering wheel detailed, everything on there, which again, I like the realistic detailing and proportions and such on these cars. Now let's see what we can find next. That's 2007, and still 2007 we have the McLaren MP4 22. And yeah, this one has a lot of that aerodynamic aids. So I'm not sure about my Honda one. Yeah, no, it had quite a few winglets and things on it. And this is exceptional for that. It almost got out of hand at this point. It was shortly after this they started eliminating all of these pieces. And you can see where McLaren had stolen from the Sauber, that it has those Viking wings sort of relief out of the airbox. So a lot of stealing, borrowing ideas as they're deemed successful. And this actual added wing element before the rear wing coming out just behind the airbox bodywork. And again, you can see all the exhausts were coming out of the bodywork just beyond the intakes. So very, very nice, beautifully done. And the paint, the chrome on these is fantastic, very accurate. And I think I read on this one that they went to McLaren to get that chrome color that they used in modeling these slot cars, which is excellent. When they reach out and they actually have a connection with the actual teams, makes it extra special and just that much more accurate, which is fantastic. All right, now on to, I think 2008, we don't have anything. You can see the cars are very similar. So it's amazing when they decide, or how they decide which year they're doing and which version of which car. Here we go. The very unique, here we go. Amazing. So this is the Brawn Grand Prix car, the BGP 001, which won the World Championship in its first go. And this was the Honda team, which ended up selling out, and Ross Brawn took it on himself and only lasted that one year. But in that 1 year, they won the World Championship with Jenson Button. But you can see some definite rule changes here when you see this car. Just beautiful. But look at the size of that front wing. It goes to the very edge of the front tires. So that's huge compared to just a couple of years before that. That front wing was almost within the inner portion of the tires. Let's see if I can line that up. Yeah, you can see how much bigger that front wing is. And in contrast, if we take a look here, the rear wing ends up being much smaller. And I think that was to balance out the car so that it'd be easier to pass. And how successful that was, debatable. But yeah, and really one of the first cars that really had this under molding around the intake. So very rounded edges. The previous cars, some of those, especially at the beginning of 2000, were very square. Here, everything was aerodynamic and smooth and rounded, exceptionally well done. So this one here is not the Jenson Button one. This is the Rubens Barrichello, which came with the, well, both of them came from the Honda team, of which the Brawn team became about. But fantastically, yeah, like that big front wing. Look at all the elements on that. Talk about fragile. I don't run this car very much because it front wing looked like an accident to happen before you even put it on the track. So, but again, yeah, just so nice, so well detailed, real representative of the real car, which is really worth collecting. Now, after this one, there we go, 2009, we have Red Bull. And I think this one is the Sebastian Vettel. And these are by Carrera. Really nicely done. One of the criticisms of this car was that the guide flag is so far behind the front wheels. I don't know if you can see that. Let me move that. There we go. So it didn't make for the greatest handling, but I mean, these cars come with 2 sets of magnets, which really stick them down. But I take one of them out and just leave one in so that it's not stuck down too terrible, and also a little more of a challenge to drive. Again, look at this big front wing right to the maximum of the outside of the front tires, and all the aerodynamic elements making that up, all incredibly well tempo printed. Look at these outboard rear view mirrors that are part of a barge board by the cockpit, which which is amazing. Great big fin out the back, leading on to that very small rear wing. And again, the paint, everything on these is spectacular. Now, what was unique about these, the front wing being so huge, they snapped into the bodywork, or the chassis actually, underneath. And it was just a peg on the wing that slotted into a round hole in the bodywork. So if you did have an accident, chances are that wing will pop out without causing any damage. Now, I did have some of these extra elements come apart, but it was very effective. If you had an accident, that front wing came off. Sometimes it was too effective. You didn't hit anything. If you're full out down the straightaway, just the vibration would work the wing loose and it would go flying and you'd actually run over it. So yeah, trick there was taking just a little bit of a tissue, putting it in the hole and then pressing the wing into it. That just gave it a little more firmer grip. So the wing just didn't drop out mid-run. But anyways, beautifully done. Very, very nice. And the nice thing with Carrera, all extra bits. All these rear view mirrors of the barge board here, all extra pieces that they gave. Very well done. Let's see. And they run quite well. I mean, a lot of these are very comparable. Maybe just the SCX, that one period where it had 4 cars the same, were rather underpowered. But now here we go. We have who's this one? Oh, Jenson Button. And it is a McLaren. And which number here? The MP424. And again, it's got that beautiful chrome paint, which is very, very nice. Got that huge wing with the elements. Got that great painted helmet, which the same as what Scalextric did with Jenson Button in the Hondas. This is really nicely done and well proportioned. So it's got some really nice detail. And again, super runner. Even taking one of the magnets out and keeping one in, it runs extremely well. And the idea of having this guide so far back is because the wings were stuck out so far with nothing underneath it. Really makes that front end look clean and not like a slot car, because the guide is kind of more, you know, behind these front wheels and you don't really notice it there. But again, it doesn't help for the best handling. If you took the magnets out, I think these would be very difficult to get around the track. And last but not least is right next to it. Here is the Ferrari. And this one's getting very clean. They're getting rid of a lot of, and that would be a ban. It wouldn't be voluntary that the teams would eliminate any aerodynamic aids that help out the performance. But they really started to clean up. But very huge cars. You can see they're getting longer and longer and bigger. Nowhere near as big as they are today. Actually, next year they're supposed to be getting smaller again. But these are getting pretty big. Very high nose and very massive front wing. Again, temple printing is always great. They got a fair bit of paint on the helmet. Not that I'm identifying who this is. I think it might be Felipe Massa. Yeah, it looks more like his than the teammate. Yeah, there was a few drivers that year changing up. But anyways, very nicely done. But you can see the outboard mirrors with the barge board. I did have that come off this car a few times. And again, they got replacements, so you can fix that pretty easily. And again, that guide way back. So there we go. So that's quite a few cars from the 2000s. And most years are represented. And those that are not, the car is so similar to the year before or the previous year that you don't feel like you missed out any significant cars over this time period. So anyways, I highly recommend this book. Now, this is Evro, of which I have many, many of those books. I usually get most of what they publish. And now let's take a little close look. There's all the cars. That's quite a grouping of cars that they produced. for Formula One for the 2000 to 2009 period. So it's fantastic for a Formula One fan like me that so many were produced. Probably more than any other 10-year period. So I'll have to go through my other books here and maybe do the same and just prove to myself just who produced, which year got the most reproductions of slot cars. And again, not that I have all of them, but quite a few. And having these books really makes this collection come alive. And I really appreciate when they are accurate to the book, the pictures, and the history of these cars. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention, these Evro books, this publisher, very expensive books because it's a very niche market. And most of their books start at $100. I think this was over $100, but found a source, and it's not too far away from me. And that's the Book Depot, and it's a warehouse that ships internationally. And they don't get all of them, but when they do get these books, they're very better value. This one I think I got for under $40. So $100 for about $38, $39 is pretty spectacular. So I've managed to collect all of the books anyways. But nowadays, yeah, spending $50 on a book is, almost a better value than the $100 it costs you for a slot car nowadays. So I'm finding I have more books than slot cars, just because of the economic sense that makes, and what I invest in, but more for my own enjoyment, not planning on making any money on any of this, but the joy of collecting and really understanding or getting the knowledge of the history of these. Okay, so I'll wrap this one up, and we'll see you in the next video.